boss hog up my ass. Why hello. It's a bit cooler, although it's a bit blustery to be fair, with a reasonable chance of rain, but hey ho. Not been out much this week, so I thought I'd come out, have a quick ride and tell you all about Jemima. The bike that started this off, my Classic 500. So after looking at all sorts of bikes and having all sorts of wonderful ideas which you just know aren't going to come to fruition, having looked at a number of ZZR 1100s online and thought, ooh, they're not that expensive these days. Well, they wouldn't be, would they? But they're at 1,000,000 years old, but just nowhere to keep it, and I'd kill myself on it for sure. Other bright ideas like a Honda VTR Firestorm, another 1000cc twin. I was quite set on one of those for a little while, and you look on YouTube, you know, as you do, came across a chap who rides one and vlogs with one. Western Supermoto vlog. Got watching his channel, quite enjoyed it. Found a couple for sale on Auto Trader, but they're an old bike, and with old bikes and old cars comes maintenance and problems and nightmares. And on the VTRs, a lot of people do the cam chain tensioner trick by bypassing the or disabling the auto tensioner and putting in a manual system, and I thought, I can't be doing all of that. But watching one of his vlogs, he was on the Saddlebag 73 social ride, and Saddlebags happened to be riding his Classic 500 Ernie. And so I had a look at that and I thought, well, that's quite nice, that's a bit different, certainly for me. And then Uncle Stu, the reservoir's low. And then of course, as I said, Uncle Stu's channel. So found a few on Auto Trader, and in the end settled for one Jemima up in Peterborough. So border, had it delivered. Lovely, lovely bike, very clean, very tidy. 1,000 miles on the clock, I think it was. Brilliant. had her delivered to work, because I still had to work out exactly where I was going to keep a bike and would it fit where I thought it was going to go. Not a little dead squirrel. I hate to see dead squirrels. So yeah, had her delivered to work. Brilliant. Had a quick ride round the yard. First ride on a bike in, I don't know, probably 20 years nearly. Brilliant. Took her out, I think, the following day for a quick ride round the block, and my employer insisted on keeping her in the hallway of the office, actually, which was really nice because she was safe and out of the elements. But it was a bugger to get in and out over the stepped threshold and whatnot, and I'd have never have got her in and out on my own, I don't think. But anyway, I was walking by, having been out for a ride. Must have been in the, I don't know when it was, probably late afternoon, I don't know. Walking by, she was sat in the hallway, and I noticed that the engine looked a little bit shiny in places. Got a paper towel, yep, oil, and not a little bit, you know, quite a bit. Couldn't believe it. And so I got hold of the dealer, bearing in mind the dealer's in Peterborough, which a good couple 100 miles away. Bearing in mind I've only had her, you know, a couple of days at most. They were very good about it. They said, well, see if you can get somebody local to do the work, and I tried a few places. Now the ones in Yeovil couldn't do it, which is a shame, having, you know, living there. Moto Corsa couldn't do it until November. And bearing in mind this was September, so that was a no-go. So I got put in touch with a very helpful chap, Martin, at the bike clinic in Gillingham, who agreed to do the work. And the, you know, the main dealer was obviously going to pay to have it done. So yes, Martin had a look, and we thought, well, it's a bit odd that it's going to be head gasket. I mean, it's got 1,000 miles on the clock, but I thought maybe the head just needed tightening down. So he had a look at it. He had the head off, put a new gasket on. Still leaked. In fact, I think he put the gasket on, took it for a test ride, all seemed good. I went to go and get it, and in the sort of 20-minute ride from Gillingham to work, by the time I got back to the yard, stepped off it, looked at it, and there was engine oil running down the engine casing. So straight on the phone, he couldn't believe it. Emailed the main dealer again, agreed to have it back out to the bike clinic. Another gasket. They had the head skimmed. Test rode it extensively. Yeah, all good. Brilliant. Happy days. Happy days. So I take it home. Winter's setting in, so I don't get to ride it too much. But I noticed one Saturday when I went out to check everything, bloody engine oil again, from the same place as last time. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't bloody believe it. Oh, horsey. Right, where were we? Yeah, couldn't believe it. Engine oil on, leaking again. So I think actually when I parked it, I think I don't know, I took it for a test ride. Yeah, definitely leaking. Now where I park it outside the house, it's a bit tight and it's a bit precarious, and it's on a raised sort of plinth outside the house. They're old cottages, and to get it on its centre stand is a bit of a fine art, and if you lose your balance, I dread the thing. So I'd have to park it on its side stand. So did that, left it, come back, and noticed that the oil had run round what looked like the back of the engine. And on further investigation, I could clearly see that it was leaking from the engine temperature sensor, which is at the back of the engine. Now, of course, I haven't got any tools, I'm not a mechanic, so I had to buy a special set of O2 sensor sockets. That came, went to tighten up, thinking, well, it just must be loose, maybe where they had the head off and put it back together. Didn't even get to tighten it. As soon as I even thought about tightening it, the whole thing just fell off. It just it just came away, and the thread was still in the hole, and it had obviously cracked at some point, and that's where it was leaking oil. So I got a new sensor from Hitchcock's, genuine part. That arrived, put that in, tighten it down as best, you know, as tight as you can. Took it for a test ride. I don't believe it, it's still bloody leaking. That's 2. Still bloody 3, still leaking. So I took it back out and checked it against the old one, and the O-rings were different, only slightly, but they were different. The one that was in there was bigger than on the original. And I thought, what am I going to do with this now, you know? I couldn't get the new O-ring off. It was just too tight on there. It would have destroyed it, I think. So all I could do was put the old O-ring on over the top and just crank them both in there. Wound it down as tight as I could. Voila! No more leak. So it would seem it went and had 2 head gaskets and a head skim for nothing, as it was that sensor all along. But by which time I'd already thought, not because of this, but I already thought, fancy something different. I hadn't managed to put that many miles on it, but I fancied something different. I mean, riding it to work, having to go along the dual carriageway, it was quite buzzy. And I do suffer from, I think it's called Raynaud's syndrome or something, where out of the blue, for no particular reason, if you're a bit cold, one of your fingers or your thumb or whatever can just stops the blood flow, goes completely white and numb. It's quite horrible, really. And I think I used to suffer with that when I used to ride years ago. And so I found Myrtle here at Moto Corsa. Did the part exchange. And one of the salesmen there actually bought Jemima and took her on home, I think. So that was my reintroduction to motorcycling after a bit of a break. And as I've said before, I'm cursed by usually two things on bikes and engines: oil and water. Moving on from that, I might have to consider swapping Myrtle for something else. Not because I don't like her, lovely bike, but the riding position really does hurt my neck. I've got a bad neck, and I've noticed after riding on Myrtle it becomes really painful, and it lasts for days. Now, will riding something else alleviate that? I don't know, but I've got something in mind, but we'll see. So yeah, only a short one. Toodle pip. Got Boss Hog up my ass. What I have been meaning to do is say a big thank you to everybody who subscribed and commented and liked. Do appreciate it. Nearly, Myrtle, nearly.